right, guys, we are here with the man and the legend, Mr. Timothy Gaines. Let's give it up, Timothy Gaines. Going on, right on. Okay, Tim, say hello to Brown Sugar for me.
Brown Sugar, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
Good to see you guys.
Good seeing you. All right, man. So the first time I think I interviewed you was back in, I want to say it was 2000, probably 2001, 2002, when I used to work for Rain Radio, man. And I got to tell you, you are still today one of the best interviews I've done. Not only did you do the interview, but you sent me some very cool black and white promos, man, that you signed for me. So thank you for that, man. That's always a good thing.
Awesome.
So right off the bat, I want to talk about Faith's Edge, man. Let's talk about Faith's Edge. How's that going right now?
We're still in writing mode. Of course, I joined the band in 2015, and it's been a side project throughout the end of the Stryper years. And Giancarlo, the singer, Giancarlo Floridia, is writing songs. We've co-written a few, and we plan on probably later this year, or 2018, I should say, get in the studio and start finishing, polishing the songs and get stuff recorded. And we're looking for a 2019 release.
What kind of music are we talking about here, man? Is this melodic metal? Is it hard rock?
It's like good old 80s melodic hard rock, metal, whatever you want to call it, big hair music.
Love that.
I don't have hair anymore, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
Style. It's what everybody grew up listening to, the MTV stuff, and there's good songs and catchy hooks, and the lyrics are great. And we just, the last album was well received. I think this is his third or fourth release that he's done now, and I played on the last one and the next one coming up. So it's going to be cool.
Very cool. Yeah. Now, one of the things that I remember, okay, obviously the first real band probably for you back in the day was Stormer, correct?
Stormer was the first band that I had joined that was actually doing stuff on the Sunset Strip in Hollywood. And I mean, they'd already been established for several years. I joined in '81. I was still in high school, and so the guys in the band were a few years older than me, and they'd been around since the mid '70s, and did shows with Van Halen and all the big bands that were around Hollywood in the '80s. Stormer played with, and they even Motley Crue even opened up for the band. I think their very first show.
Really? Cool. For Stormer?
Yeah, for Stormer in '80.
Wow. Wow.
That quickly shifted, and Motley became huge. We were opening for them, and then it got to a point where Nicky was like, "We don't want to play with you guys anymore because you're really good, and we we want to be great, and we don't need any of the competition." So, but yeah, we hung out. I ran with Tommy and Vince for years, and a lot of the guys back in the day. The Hollywood days. So it was a lot of fun.
Very cool.
A lot of fun.
Very cool.
Nice.
So, okay, now, Stormer, obviously everybody, especially myself, knows you from Stryper, but you've been in, 200 other plus bands since then, man?
Another band every week.
Yeah, so you did Sin Dizzy with Oz, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Year 4, we started Sin Dizzy. There was King James in 2000.
King James, I forgot about.
Somewhere around
and
there.
then you also played with Richard Marx, right?
I toured with Richard Marx for a short time, and in 2007, some country artists, just whatever. I lived in Nashville for 14 years. I played everything from country to jazz. I was in a jazz band for a few years, and we've done a lot of recordings, and so I just I do all different styles of music, and I enjoy just playing bass. It's what I do.
So let's talk about, if you can, tell me a little bit about the new band with Dean. What's that new band with Dean?
Okay, so this is just a new project that came to me like in the last 2 months. It's called Of Gods and Monsters. And Kevin Gucher is the lead singer. Dean Castronovo is going to be playing drums. He starts recording this Wednesday, the 20th. Joey Tofola's on guitar, and I'm playing bass. And so this is actually going to be the first project that I'm involved with for 2018-19 that's in the studio. We're in the studio starting this week, and I believe that we're looking to do something in early 2018 with a release, and just see what happens.
Cool. Is it now? This we talking the same style, hard rock type stuff?
It's just hard rock, metal, whatever you want to call it. I don't even understand the terms anymore.
Well, I don't either, dude. I don't either. I quit that a long time ago, man. Because we listen to everything. Yeah. When I mean everything, I mean everything. The whole metal thing, man, was so passé with me a long, long time ago, man. Yeah. So I get it.
It's hard rock. I mean, Joey's a shredder. I mean, he's a great guitar player. Dean, of course, great drummer, and Kevin on vocals. He's he was in Omen. I mean, I guess he still is in Omen, but we're talking hardcore stuff. Yeah. So, and then I don't know where I kind of fit in here and balance it all out, I suppose.
Well, let's take a different direction now. You did your first solo CD was Breakfast at Timothy's, right? Was that your first solo? That's okay, correct. So that was more. I haven't picked it up, haven't heard it yet, but it's more jazz, right?
It's not jazz. It's
not jazz. Okay.
It's actually just straight ahead rock, instrumental rock music. And
shoot, we need to listen to it. I didn't. Okay. Totally. Yeah. Okay.
Producer and writer of the album is my best friend Chris Eddy, and his dad is the guitar hero, the guitar great Dwayne Eddy, and we kind of approached this as a bass album in the vein of what Dwayne Eddy would do with guitar. He had that low twangy,
rockabilly type stuff.
Yeah, in the '60s, and so my bass parts are kind of in that same realm of what. They're not flashy licks or anything like that. I'm no way, a Billy Sheehan or any of these great players like Jocko or whatever. It's just the bass guitar takes place up where normally a vocal melody might go. So it's cool stuff. It's been slowly received over the last 10 years. We recorded this in 2008, 2009, and we had the intention of putting a band together and doing clubs and whatever, tour with it. And then I got the call to rejoin Stryper, so I kind of put my whole solo thing on hold for 8 or 9 years. And so anyways, it's been out there for a while now, and you can get it anywhere. They do digital downloads, and I think I just finally sold out of CDs. So
wow, there you go, man.
I have to reorder some hard copies and just see where we go with it.
So are you thinking about another one, solo?
Yeah, I've been writing the last couple of months for the next one. It's going to be all my own and different style of music, completely different. It's going to be everywhere from rock to jazz oriented. It's a little bit of mixture of everything, eclectic mixture of different styles of music that I enjoy. So
very cool.
We'll see where that goes. And if I get the budget up to record, and I've got the studio here in the house, but I'm talking afford to pay the musicians.
Right.
Pay to have everything done properly, mastered and mixed. We had a great mix engineer on the last one. So I'm hoping I can do something similar and have a good quality album.
Very cool. Super cool. Very, very cool. So, okay, so you were the first one who got me to go buy my first bass. So at 16 years old, I went out and I saved up and got a $150 black PV Foundation bass, right?
Nice. Yes.
And so didn't know how to play it, right? But when after Soldiers Under Command came out, and after I bought the Live in Japan video, watching you play bass, that's when I had to go out and buy a bass, right?
Yeah.
And so I went out, got the black bass, got the yellow strap, right, and just thought I was going to be Tim Gaines, right? So, what was it? Who and why was it for you? Why bass? What caused you to play bass?
Yeah, that's an interesting question because I actually wanted to play keyboards, be like a Elton John or a Billy Joel or something like that. I wanted to be a piano singer. And, I grew up in the late 60s, early 70s when we had all these great singer-songwriters. And for whatever reason, I took to the Elton John music. I love the vocal harmonies and just the writing in general. And during the same time, I had picked up, I was about 12, 13, I had picked up the classical guitar. And I started taking guitar lessons. And for whatever reason, when I'd sit down and listen to music, I'd bang out the keyboard parts on my knees and pretend, like we all probably do, air guitar.
Exactly, yeah.
Air keyboards. Well, I started picking up this classical guitar, and I realized in my mind I'm hearing bass parts. I'm hearing the rhythm section of his band. Dee Murray was the bass player, and Nigel Wilson the drummer. And I started learning bass parts on this classical guitar. And I realized I like playing bass. I'm hearing bass parts in my head. And so from there, I took the two top strings off my guitar, and I had for a year, it was just four strings, and I would learn bass parts. And my parents thought, well, he's getting really serious about it. So my 14th birthday, they bought me my first bass. And gosh, how many years ago was that now?
Do you remember what it was?
Yeah, it was a Japanese 3/4 P-bass copy by a company called Orlando.
Okay.
And it was just a knockoff of a
P-bass.
Of a P-bass. Yeah, exactly. So that was my first one, and from there I traded that in and got an Ibanez lawsuit copy. It was a Rickenbacker copy, 4001. And I traded that in, got a 65 jazz bass, and of course back then it was like 65 jazz was like mainly maybe 10 years, 11 years old, so it wasn't that big of a deal. And I traded that thing in on a BC Rich.
Nice.
No, it wasn't, because the bass is worth about 10 grand today.
So you took a loss.
BC Rich in like 1979, I guess, and I should have hung on to the bass.
But what
I bought my very first brand new bass, which was a Music Man Stingray.
Nice.
And that was in 1979, and I still have it. I still play it.
But what was the BC Rich model?
It was it's called Son of Rich, if I remember right.
Yeah, so it wasn't the cool old Warlock basses.
No, it wasn't. It just had a single P-bass pickup in it.
Ah, okay.
It was one of the cream pickups, and
gotcha.
It was kind of heavy and just wasn't really. I was playing in a pop band with this heavy metal bass.
Did you ever like the Warlocks, by the way? Did you ever like those basses?
I like the Mockingbird.
You like the Mockingbird better? Okay.
Yeah.
I was all
for one. If I see one someday at a decent price, I'm going to pick one up.
See, I always wanted the Warlock that Nikki Sixx had back in the Shout at the Devil days, man. Just the plain black with the white banding around it. I always thought that was so cool, man. So let me change gears again here real quick. My uncle, when I was growing up, was huge into ham radio. Yeah. And I know that you, from my last interview years ago, you told me that you were into ham radio. So tell us a little bit about that hobby and how it became because it's more than a hobby now, right? Or is it still a hobby?
Well, it's still a hobby. It's just, it depends on how much money I have to spend on it. But it's definitely a money pit, and you can throw tens of thousands of dollars into it, and it's what you make of it. But I got into, like everybody in the 70s, the CB radio craze hit. And so I got into CB radio, and that was in elementary school, early, mid-70s. And I just became friends with a lot of guys in radio communications, and some guys I'm still friends with today. after all these years. But they had parents that were ham radio operators, and these guys would go over to their house and they'd be talking to people all over the world, and it was just more interesting to me. And I don't know when it finally hit. Probably, I always played with the CB radios, but it was in the late 80s, early 90s. Actually, it was during Against the Law, recording the Against the Law album. And our record company president at the time, Bill Hine, came down, and we were talking about, me and Oz were talking about our CB radios and how Oz lived about a mile from me when I lived in California, and we'd get up every night, hang out and talk on the radio to each other. And we were telling Bill that we were talking to each other, and he said, well, you got to come over to my house and check out my ham radio station. He was a ham radio operator. So I went up to Bill's house. He lived on a mountaintop out in Malibu, out in California, and he had this radio station that looked like a recording studio.
Wow.
It was just, probably $1 million, studio set up in his house, and that's all it took. And he kind of helped me along, and, I got, learned my Morse code and got, my first license, novice license, and worked my way up. And, I've been an amateur extra, which is, not that big of a deal anymore. But at the time it was, the highest license you could get,
right,
as far as ham radio went. So I've been doing that since the late 80s now, the official ham radio operator licensed by the government, FCC.
Very cool, man. So you'll be set if we have a nuclear holocaust, man. You'll be good to go.
You never know. I'll be in my bunker, and
That's right, man. You got to have your
cell phones aren't going to be working.
That's right, man. If an EMP hits, we're all done. But at least you'll have, you'll know how to do Morse code, man.
I got my tinfoil hat on.
Exactly. Okay, so let me go back. Let's go back to music for a minute. So the way the music business has changed since you grew up is drastic, man. And we've seen, and I've talked to people over the years who have just had such a hard time with the transitioning of the way the business went. Do you think nowadays that musicians such as yourself, if you want to keep doing this, do you think musicians have to be in more than 2 bands to be able to keep yourselves afloat? Does that make sense?
I mean, people in my vein, yeah. I mean, I try to keep my foot in any door I can, just to, if something pans out, it's like throwing darts, something eventually going to stick to the wall, and hopefully we could tour, or, an album takes off. I mean, nobody buys albums anymore, CDs, or, everything's digital downloads. It's individual songs, and most of the stuff people listen to streaming. The artist, myself, we don't make any money from streaming. It's like I get a check every quarter for like 10 cents for thousands of plays.
Yeah.
Like Spotify and all the different streaming venues that are out there. So I don't make any money from that. I make money from actual touring, going out and playing a gig, and I get paid for doing the gig. And a lot of bands, like what we did in Stryper, even going on the road and trying to make a living touring, you gotta have merchandise sales. A lot of bands, everybody does it now. They do meet and greets where they charge, a certain amount of people to come in and get to meet the band and sign autographs, take pictures, stuff like that. I mean, it's just, back in the day, we'd go out after a show and meet everybody. Nobody had to pay for that.
Yeah, that's the one question I wanted. That's the one question I wanted to ask you after that, is because now I get it, because I know bands have to survive. We've talked about this. I know bands have to survive, so you have to sell your merch. It's a must, and you have to do everything you can do to stay on the road. But like you just said, that was the back in the day. We would always wait outside where the bus was, just to say hi, right? Yep. But now, with over the years, Yeah, and over the years, it's become okay. Now you've got to pay, what some bands charge to up to thousands of dollars for some bands, right? So my question to you is I know that from a musician's point of view, you have to have that. But do you think some of these bands take it a little bit too far? Without mentioning names, do you think some bands take it too far with charging too much?
I think so. I mean, but then again, it's capitalism. If somebody's willing to pay for that, why not? For me personally, I can't see in my mind charging somebody $1,000 to come shake my hand. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Right.
I'm not like that. I can't do that. I feel bad when I sell a T-shirt online for like $25, and I feel like it's way too much money. But that's me. You
gotta survive, man.
For $15 is like a good price. 25 or 30 is like overpriced, but that's what they go for. And I don't like fleecing the flock, so they say. It's I get it. And people that buy my merchandise, buy the band's merchandise, you keep us going. You help us, and it's not. We're not getting rich off of it. It's just it helps us pay the bills and keep moving on to the next show or to the the next album, or there's not big money floating around in music anymore unless you're somebody selling big huge venues, 15,000, 20 seat,
like a Metallica or somebody, yeah,
something like that, or Guns N' Roses. I mean, they're making money, but the smaller guy has to do these things just to stay afloat and to keep going till the next whatever.
How do you see the music scene from your perspective? Because we've lost at least 2 to 3 good clubs that were around this area. We live in the Northern Virginia area, like 45 minutes outside of D.C. Now, there's some good clubs in D.C., but we don't, and there's some better ones in Baltimore, but we don't really like to go out that far a lot of times unless it's somebody we want to see. But I've noticed, we've lost clubs in Virginia, North Carolina, all across the country that were really good clubs that I've been to. Does that concern you for people like yourself?
It's a sign of the times. I mean, we're all getting older. Generation X is
we're fading out.
70s, and it's like I see it. Just being on the road for the last 10 years with Stryper, it's like we used to go out and play to 15,000 seat arenas like everybody did in the 80s, and now it's like, well, everybody's married and has kids, and they work 9 to 5 or longer, and it's just nobody goes out. And plus, you have so much entertainment like this. I mean, we have computers,
right?
And instantly right in front of you. It's like you don't have to go out and do your hair or whatever.
Well, yeah. Now you can go watch a show filming on your HD camera and have it loaded up by the time you get back to the car for everybody to see. Man, it's crazy. It really is crazy how things have gone, man.
Yeah.
So
technology, it's great in one sense, and it's kind of screwed us in another. So
yeah. What are you gonna do, man?
Just gotta adapt.
Yep. Okay, so I got a fan question from one conservative man on Twitter, and he says, you'll know this because you used to live in Nashville, which you did, right? Mm-hmm. So he says, Hattie B's or Prince's? And he said, you'll know what that means.
I haven't been to either one, but I know that Hattie B's is like the place to have the hot chicken. So,
yeah, fried chicken, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, he said it's a big Nashville thing down there, man.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is.
So here's mine. This is the serious question that I've got for you. This is mine. All right. You ready?
Yeah.
Steely Dan or Journey?
Jeez. They're like both. I'd have to say Journey, because Journey's been my favorite band since.
Wrong answer, Tim.
Oh, okay.
Wrong answer. Wrong answer. That's wrong. Nobody beats Steely Dan, Tim. Nobody, man. Nobody beats Steely Dan. Now, listen to me, man. I love Journey. She loves Journey.
Of course.
Right? But
Absolutely.
we see Steely Dan, man. Come on, dude.
Absolutely.
You can't. Come on. Steely Dan. So I'm sorry, Tim, you're wrong on that. I love Journey. I love Journey, and normally I would say if it was somebody else, I'd say you're right, Tim, it's Journey.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna tell you you're wrong on this one. It's Steely Dan, man. I'm sorry.
If
my
I could
God.
ever be in a band as a sub or whatever, I would love to play with Journey like 1 or 2
Oh, yeah.
nights, maybe a week. You know,
Yeah,
I'd be
that's-
scared to death, but I'd sure enjoy it.
yeah.
But yeah, I love Steely Dan. I mean, we all did, but I was a huge fan. I mean, it did something to me when even early Journey. I was just like, you know, before Steve Perry joined the band, I was a fan of Journey. So
So you're hardcore Journey, man.
yeah, and you know, Ross Valerie is one of my favorite bass players.
Okay,
He's
yeah.
a big influence on me. So I have to go with Journey.
How do you like Arnell as a singer? I think he's phenomenal, man.
I love Arnell, and Steve was great. I don't look at any of the singers, and Dean for that matter. My God.
Yeah, I know, dude.
Sing Journey.
Yep.
I don't look at any of the guys as like being Steve Perry's replacement. I look at them because I've seen them all, you know, in the different venues, and they all are individual guys with their own style, and they sound great. And it's really the songs. I think that, you know, I love Journey back in the day. I love, you know, it was like going with my high school sweetheart, and that was like our thing was going to see Journey, and so it has a place in my heart, you know, as far as that goes. But it's the songs too, and hearing each individual singer come out and sing. You know, I've loved everybody that's come out and done.
Yeah,
you know?
They are an incredible band, man, and have
Absolutely.
spawned what, like 5 million tribute bands as well.
Tons of tribute. Okay, so we're talking about how to make money, and you know,
Yeah.
everybody tribute band now.
You know what though? We have a club that's what, 20 minutes from here.
About 20, 25.
About
something
20
like that.
minutes from here, classic old time theater that was renovated into a club, into a nightclub. And they bring some national acts, but they bring a lot of tribute bands because they know that's what sells now. People my age and older, and there's a lot of younger people there too. But we just get tribute band after tribute band. Some are really excellent, and some are just horrible.
Yeah.
You know, some are just real flat out just bad. You know,
Yeah.
Some bad ones.
Yeah,
I'm fortunate enough to be involved with some good ones, and I'm a sub for Kenny Metcalf, who was our old keyboard player in Stryper.
Yep.
Does his version of Elton John. He sounds and looks just like him, and I've gotten to play with them a few times, and he makes great money. I mean, he's playing casinos and festivals, and
that's a big thing, man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean and I go and play with him. And I make just as much money, if not more, than I would make on a Stryper gig.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of bands have said that with these cruises too now. What do you think about the cruises?
And the cruises are great too. I mean, the cruises, it depends on, like, we've always done the Monsters of Rock cruise, and it's more like a paid vacation. In fact, by the time you're done buying the drink packages and, you know, all the excursions and everything, you're usually out of pocket. You know, it's a lot of fun, and you spend 5 or whatever many days, you know, with a bunch of people, and it's like a giant party. It's great. It's a lot of fun.
Very cool. Very cool. So, okay, so last question for you, man. What do you have to say to your fans? Any words to your fans?
I just want to, my fans, man, you guys, the ones that have stuck by me this last year, I've been through a lot of crap, and it's amazing to see how many people have really stood behind me and my wife Brandy, and just very thankful for friends and loved ones. I'll put it that way.
Very cool. Very cool. And we cannot wait I can't wait to hear these, especially the what is it, of Gods and
Gods and Monsters.
Gods and Monsters. Yeah, that's.
And I'm also in another band here in Phoenix called Sons of Metal. And that's going to be coming out. We're doing our first show, I believe, in February. So
is that original band or cover band?
It's kind of both. It's guys from different '80s bands. We've got Brett from Madam X, singer from Madam X, Brett Kaiser. John Ecolino is an icon. Oh my God, Dwayne Miller's on drums, he's in fiddle, and Steve Connolly, who's in Flotsam and Jetsams, also on guitar. So
Very cool.
and playing bass. And so we're doing cover songs of 80s metal bands. And
Very cool. Okay.
Priest, AC/DC, whatever. Plus, we're doing songs from our bands that we're a part of, and we're also writing songs. So we're hoping that we can do an album, sometime later this year.
Very cool.
This year, but 2018 is coming up like in 2 weeks, so I'm saying this year.
Well, very good, man. Hey, listen. Again, we thank you for taking the time to do this, and we appreciate you talking with us, being honest about everything, and even though you're wrong about Steely Dan and Journey, I mean, this has been a great interview. And you're wrong, Tim Gaines. You're wrong. No, I know. I just want to say you're wrong, Tim Gaines. It sounded fun, man.
I know it was kind of funny.
Anyway.
Yeah, I giggled.
No, dude, we are super stoked for you, man, and we hope nothing but good things happens to you from here on out, man. We greatly appreciate you taking time to do this.
Thank you, guys.
Good. So, if you could stick around after we turn the recorder off, and we want to talk to you for just a quick second.
Okay.
All right, guys, to Tim Gaines. All right, Tim Gaines.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, we'll see y'all. Peace.
Deuces.